Good evening, everybody. Trust that you're well. Thank you for making time to join us this evening. I'm sure you could have been engaged with something else, but you took taken the time to join us this evening. We want to welcome you to the session. My name is Vikesh. Well, I'm sure you can see that on the screen. But thank you very much for your RSVPs and attending the session this evening. We've got a long 1 hour. There was a crude icebreaker, I think. We've got a long 1 hour, short 1 hour, and we appreciate your time. We want to get started, but we are mindful that there may be more attendees joining. My colleague Israel and Rufaro are here with me tonight. We will admit colleagues as they join. So colleagues, without further ado, again, thank you for making time to join us. And what is the session about? The concept of disruption management is not necessarily relatively a new one, but I think with engagements with colleagues such as the facilitator, Rufaro, who will be presenting to you in a few short minutes, Region Business School has taken will be taking or seeking to take the lead in unpacking disruption with our sort of daily lives and the challenges that we face, what I like to call competing competencies and the demands of our time. We really or seldomly have time to sit and reflect as to what's happening around us. And before we know it, and forgive me if in my thoughts or my thinking patterns, I'm relatively old school in that sense. The idea of technology, the advancements in technology, AI, artificial intelligence, deep learning, machine learning, data, chat GPT, etc. And before you know it, something's happening around you. And if my conversations with colleagues in the recent past and engagements with other organizations is anything to go by, before you know it, you're really saddled with a lot of information where stuff is happening quickly around you and trying to figure this out. So really the session today really is about the concept of disruption 4.0 or disruption management 4.0 and its emergence as a key framework for understanding and harnessing technology as an enabler and not a disabler. And really it's about harnessing opportunity with technology, but having the mindset to do so. And how we use these advancements to drive innovation, how we use it to drive and transform our own mindsets, and thereby creating sustainable and competitive advantage. Really, Disruption 4.0 is a mindset of, or rather a culture of innovation that really enables individuals and organizations to challenge traditional thinking, traditional business models, and really about reimagining processes, what we call competencies, the issue of skills development, etc., really to harness new opportunities for growth for both individuals and for organizations and industries alike. I promised Rufaro not to be too long, so I'll be a few more minutes, Rufaro, with your permission. The session this evening will really cover a few areas, and really it's a 1 hour session where we're trying not to delve too deep into the various areas, but we have something to announce at the end of my slot here this evening. What is disruption specifically, and why do we need to manage it? How to develop a disruption mindset, opportunities that come with effectively managing disruption. Rufaro will cover sort of a brief overview of 5 key areas, such as resilience, agility, converting risk to profit, weaponizing chaos, and developing really an innovation mindset by showing us or by giving us some pointers from an innovation framework perspective. And really the steps to follow to take advantage of disruption in our environments, both as individuals and organizations. Colleagues, we have 93 attendees thus far, and we didn't notify you prior to this, but the first 100 people that join tonight and complete the session with us, complete the session with us, we will be introducing a disruption management development program. I want to quickly share my screen with you. It's been developed and available. Okay, great. So colleagues, we've at Region Business School, we've developed a disruption management development program. It's really roughly 3 to 5 hours, depending on the time that you spend with it. If you decide to do the course in one sitting, it's roughly 3 hours. The course covers 5 key areas that I mentioned previously. Just a quick overview of the course. Really, it's a series of video presentations from Rufaro and those that we've developed using obviously AI-based technology, and key areas that really cover resilience, converting risk to profit, agility, innovation, and weaponizing chaos. As you get into each topic, you can click to begin each topic, and you go through a series of videos, and there's a series of steps to follow for each of the topics. And at the end of each topic, you will be able to, you will be required to answer a few self-check questions. You would note that each topic, on the completion of each topic, you then unlock the next topic. You cannot do topic 5 before you do topic 4 and so forth. And at the end of this, provided that you've answered all of the questions correctly, all of the self-check questions, it's a multiple choice format, you will then be awarded an online certificate that you can download and add to your credential, your profile, and of course, share with your colleagues, etc. I'm not going to go to the details of the program, but what we will do is we'll reach out to you, if not during the course of tomorrow, latest early next week, to set up the course with you. We will need your permission, of course, from the puppy perspective, but we will need your name, surname, email address, etc. We will drop you an email, and the team will reach out to you to set up the program for you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's at no cost to you, but it will only be available for the 2-week period. Thereafter, we will close the course. Even if you've been enrolled and you don't complete, you will not be able to access the certificate, but the course will only be available for a period of 2 weeks. Trust that everyone is fine with that and happy to take any questions and any comments. But let me hand over to Rufaro, who's the facilitator for this evening, and myself and my colleague Izzy will be online and happy to engage with you in questions. I'm sure Rufaro will make some time for questions and answers at the end, which you will be able to engage with us on the chat. Colleagues, thank you very much for your time and thank you for your indulgence. Rufaro, I'll hand over to you. Thank you.
Good evening, Vikesh. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now, Rufaro.
All right, awesome. Okay, so I'll be sharing my screen in a moment. All right, thank you for that introduction and welcome everyone. I'm excited to be with you as I just share my screen quickly. All right, could you just please confirm, anybody, perhaps in the chat box or the mic, that you can see my screen? Okay, I see 1 or 2 people. Oh, I see, yes, we can, yes, we can, yes, we can. Awesome, love it, guys. I'm not going to share my video. I'm not going to share. I'm not going to show you my face because I want to maximize on the bandwidth. I do appreciate that. We're experiencing ESCOM challenges. So, in light of that, I just thought let me stick to the presentation. However, when you do register for the MDP program, you will get to see me and also hear me as I walk you through the presentation. So disruption 4.0, thank you for that introduction, Kesh. And picking up from where he said, right, the idea is, what exactly is disruption? Okay. And I'll get a chance to interact with you guys in a bit. However, the question begs, what is disruption? Is it innovation? Is it creativity? What exactly is it? Well, disruption has many definitions, no particular formal definition. But what it basically means is you and I are living in a world where these innovations and technology improvements and ideas and processes and all that are having a profound and immediate impact on us. So a simple example, if you were a bank and all of a sudden, maybe 10, 12 years ago, all of a sudden, a institution called First National Bank introduces a mobile wallet service. Now, that fundamentally changes the competitive scale, of those working in banking, because it allows people who are bankers and non-bankers, or who are F&B clients and non-F&B clients, to immediately access the F&B network. Now, it's disruptive because it fundamentally changes the whole idea of who can transfer money. And because your SIM card is recard, which at least it should be, it meets, most of all of the compliance requirements to know who's sending money and to whom. And that essentially means that we've created a new normal. And hence you've seen all the other big banks effectively following suit. And you have cash send, you have Sendi Mali, and so on and so forth. So what starts off as a competitive advantage, as a market shaker, ultimately, ends up being the norm. And that means two things. That means everybody else has to join in as we establish a new norm. And it also means that after everybody else joins up, then F&B no longer has that advantage, does it? They have to think of the next thing. And then you have smart ATMs and so on and so forth. Okay, so what does it mean for an individual? Well, in the field, for example, of training and development, AI is becoming a thing now. Okay, and before I continue, I see we have Matapelo who's raised her hand. Matapelo, you want to come in? Okay, you can just interrupt when you unmute yourself. Please do that. Okay, so as an individual, the other perspective, what does disruption mean for you and I as an individual? Okay, would anyone like to try? What do you think? I'd like to get your thoughts on that. What does disruption mean to you and I as an individual? Well, let me help you there. It means that as, for example, in the profession of training and development and lecturing, we now have tools that are AI powered. So you can literally, do many things using AI. That means if Vikesh is using AI, right? Assuming Vikesh was, let's say, a lecturer, and I'm also a lecturer, And he has the ability to use AI, which enables him to tap into a broader network of machine learning. So he's not just Googling or using his own intelligence or what is there, but a combination of what many people are doing, including himself, and from and from a software that's actually learning, what works, what doesn't. So therefore, he can probably come up with, if it's a presentation or a module, a better one than me, a more accurate one. He can do the work faster than me. And with deep learning, which is something we'll unpack in the course, he can probably have better foresight as to what people are likely to respond to, what they're not likely to respond to. And he certainly can produce a faster, more efficient, more tailored, piece of work than me. He effectively can do what I can do in 50 times less than I can. So that means he can do much more, he can do much better work, and he's miles ahead of me. So that is what we mean by disruption. If he learned how to use some new PowerPoint tool or some new software with his presentations, that's great. It might be innovative, but it's not necessarily disruptive. It doesn't fundamentally change what's going on. And second, it doesn't fundamentally give him a permanent advantage. And it doesn't necessarily compel me to adapt or die. But however, using AI within the learning and development space, from developing material to presenting, using avatars and more audiovisual tools, that certainly changes the game. And that means a new standard is set where Vikesh can do something, perhaps develop a material which he can do perhaps in half a day. It would take the average person perhaps 2 months. And certainly that changes the game. So this is what we mean by disruption. Now, what does disruption entail? Well, it requires you to be agile, right? And agile just certainly means the ability to be flexible, the ability to move from one shape and form to the other. In search of what? In search of innovation. Now, what is innovation? Well, innovation certainly includes or incorporates creativity, something new, but doesn't necessarily mean it's innovative simply because it's new and it's creative. Have you done something new in a process, in a product, in a service, in a way of doing things that B, creates value for others? Now, what is value? Value means when what you get out is more than what you put in, right? If you buy an Apple phone, very expensive, but because of the social dividend, the security, the quality, etc., that you get from it, in many people's minds, it's worth more than the 20,000 you pay for it. Similarly, you had the Huawei phones, which were quite popular. They were 500 Rand, a basic 3G phone. But many people found it to be valuable because what you were getting for that price in people's mind was more. But what good does it make to, does it serve to create something that has value for others, for your clients, for your people, that is innovative, that is new, but that doesn't create value for the company or for the person pushing it? So when we tick these 3 boxes, we can get to a point where we're innovative. But remember, disruption, therefore, goes further than innovation and says, is this innovation something that fundamentally changes the game? So as individuals, as employees, as teams, as organizations, we find this all around us, and we could have a whole discussion around that. And therefore, it's important that we adapt. There was a big conversation. My world, I didn't have much time to introduce myself. I didn't want to eat up too much time with that. But you can obviously look at the brochures. You can Google me. You can, and when you join the session, you'll hear more about me. But my background is investment banking, corporate finance, um, leverage debt, essentially risk management, upside and downside. And now I do a lot of consulting and training broadly within the financial services, financial technology, information systems space. And I can tell you that in the world of finance, broadly speaking, there was a big scare starting from at least 8 or so years ago. Will this automation thing get rid of us? Will we still have jobs? What will we do? And the reality is that while some jobs will be eliminated, many other jobs will be created. And as individuals, it is for us to position ourselves and say, therefore, how do we not only adapt to the situation proactively, but how do I actually make this work to my advantage? Because if we don't do that, what we do find is rigidness. If we're not agile, we can't get to innovation and then adapt. It means we're rigid, and that leads to chaos, confusion, anger, disorder, and just wrong responses. Now, why should we even bother about disruption as individuals, as teams, as organizations? Well, it gives us an advantage, isn't it? Right? It gives us an advantage. It means we have an advantage over others. As an individual, I give you an example between two lecturers where one is adopting these techniques and technologies, which are absolutely amazing. And I use Mr. Vikesh as an example. And where I, in the example, just stick to what I'm doing, well, clearly Mr. Vikesh will have an advantage over me. It means we can do things faster. It means we can jump ahead of change instead of, waiting for it, responding to it, and basically being victim. We can actually use any threat and opportunity if we know the steps and literally convert all of them into an opportunity. And we'll walk you through this as you go through the five sessions that we recorded that speak to disruption. We literally walk you through how to go through each scenario. What is the weakness of what is the risk of not being proactive and learning these tools? And by the way, disruption is nothing inherently to do with technology. There's a temptation to think disruption is about technology. It's not about technology. We've forever been having disruption in politics, in economics, in religion, in society, right? Things are always changing. And there is a way to deal with that, a systematic way to deal with such and convert it into opportunity. So the weakness is if we don't get behind this, we get left behind. What are the threats? Well, the threats are, we live in a world where, the whole 4.0, which is, the fourth industrial revolution, is characterized by change, which is increasing at an increasing rate, right? So those who've done economics will know what I'm talking about, right? We're having change, which is coming, but at an increasing rate. So, you risk really being kicked out, being overtaken, being redundant. But if you hold on to these opportunities, you can actually foresee what's coming. You can get ahead of it. You can turn threats into opportunities. You can create opportunities, and you can give yourself and your organization a competitive edge. So this is why it's important, therefore, that we get ahead of this disruption. As Vikesh indicated, what will what is the course or program made up of? Well, it's made up of 5 mini courses, which is developing resilience, converting risk into profit, thinking agile, a framework for innovation, and how to weaponize chaos. How to turn that to your advantage. Okay. So let's dive into it very briefly. What is resilience? May I just, meet and greet you guys very quickly? I hear Anonymous says, powerful course, I want you in. Great. I see a lot of you are throwing in your emails. Please do it. Krista says, disruption can also lead to opportunities. Correct. It can lead to opportunities, and it can also lead to disaster, depending on which side of the risk management fence you are. And one thing I'll tell you is risk management is both upside and downside. It's both proactive and reactive, isn't it? Okay. So who wants to give, who perhaps wants to share their thoughts on what they think resilience is? What does resilience mean? A lot of people talk about this resiliency. What is resiliency? What do you think? Yeah, I see Oppo has raised his or her hand. Would you want to just unmute yourself and perhaps share your thoughts?
But I'm not sure the candidates that attendees can engage verbally, but to the chat, I would suggest.
All right, thanks, Rikesh. I kind of thought I was leaning towards that thinking also. That's fine. Martha says resilience is the ability to bounce back. Correct. And those who are raising their hands, I see some of you are typing, please type. To withstand, pursuing goals despite challenges, to recover quickly. Wow, they're coming in hard and fast. Love it. To recover quickly, how well you adapt to change. That's it. Resilience is not giving up. Yeah, correct. Durability, calm during disaster. That's it. To recover. And I wish I could please continue typing your thoughts. I won't be able to read all of them, but I appreciate that. And everything you said, guys, is correct. But let me add something to it. Resiliency goes beyond just adapting to adversity, bouncing back, recovering. It means you actually come back stronger. So you know the old Adam, right? If you have one problem, I mean, if you sit on a stove, for example, and you only learn one lesson, then your future is probably not as bright as it could be. Right? You should learn many lessons. You don't just learn that don't sit on hot things, they burn. You learn that you must listen to your parents when they say don't sit on the stove. So take advice. You must test things. Maybe put your hand in. You must seek knowledge before you do things, so on and so forth. So you learn more than one thing as you bounce back. And when you bounce back, you actually come back stronger. That's the whole idea. How do you not only adapt to recover, but recover much stronger? And there's an actual process for this, right? How do you come up with a better than expected outcome as you deal with the adversity? And this is what we walk you through. How do you actually predict other things that are likely to come and actively, prevent them? So that's the broad spectrum of resilience. And that's what we talk about and we walk you through. Right? So it's not just recovering, adapting, it's about bouncing back stronger. But how do you do that? Okay, so for the second piece talks about converting risk to profit. And I'm sure we've heard about this. Take every situation, half full instead of half empty. How do you get the best out of something? We talk about it, but how easy is it to do it? Well, you need the process, and that's what we share. So for a problem to remain a problem after a diligent effort, then it must contain a lie. You find the lie, then you solve the problem. You see, a lot of times we want solutions that are prepackaged or preconceived. And if we can't get those solutions when dealing with a problem, then we remain stuck. But the thing is, there always is a solution. It's only how you look towards it, but also that solution may not come in the shape and form you expect or want. But ultimately, if you struggle, it means there's something in your thinking, and this is where critical thinking comes in, that is stopping you from finding a solution. Okay, I see a lot of great commentary in here. Is it Krista says, it's like when you fail something, you work harder and rise back up. Yeah. Okay. So let me give you a quick analogy, right? And I promise you this was not, because this was not you. I was, when COVID started, one of the entities I was doing some consulting, and that's what I do in the second half of my life, mostly balance sheet stuff, optimization and risk management for public sector. And at some point, I had to, send in an invoice, and this entity processed invoices, I think every 2 weeks, so twice a month. And if I missed this date, I would have to wait. And this is COVID, so no work, no pay. And we don't know when this COVID thing will come to an end by then. We were told 3 weeks. I didn't expect that. And the next thing we're hearing, we're coming down in stages, stage 1 to 5. No, it's stage 5 to stage 5.8 to 5.B, right? It was really a touch and go, fake it till you make it situation. And so, of course, there was anxiety on my part. And I had made some purchases, and I wanted to start rebuilding some cash bases. And so I needed the money, right? Fairly urgently. I didn't want to have to wait for a few more weeks. And so basically, the problem was I had to submit an invoice and sign a little contract. Each time you have to sign these little contracts, just putting my signature and initials and so forth. Now, here's the situation. Sitting at home, I don't have a printer scanner. I didn't need one. And so the internet cafes are closed. I call one internet cafe, the guy. He doesn't have power at that time. And then so I call another friend of mine. He's a lecturer at another business school. He's a programmer lecturer, and the wife is also in that space. So I thought definitely he'll have it. Between the two of them, definitely. And he didn't have ink, black ink. Gosh, I'm in trouble. Stick with me, don't be long. And so eventually, long story short, I get to my cousin sister's house, and my brother-in-law, my spotty, says, wait a minute, I get there and I try to use their computer, and for some reason, it only works with Bluetooth. You can only send with Bluetooth, and the Bluetooth function is not working. So it's just a nightmare. Long story short, my brother-in-law says, well, why don't you, Spare, what you want is just to get your signature, right? And the dates and all that on a document. That's all you want, right? And I said, yes. He's an architect, by the way, an engineer. So he had this Samsung phone with the pen, but the pen didn't matter. You'll see it there just now. And he says, well, why don't you just send it to me? And then I'll, just come here and sign with a pen, and then I'll just copy and paste it on the documents on my phone and email it to you. Problem solved. But then when I went home, light bulbs started going on. I realized something, that my whole approach to solving that problem was actually wrong. Okay, if you've been following me, because I'm now getting to the juggle, I'm getting to the point. What do you think was wrong in that thought process, just from what you've heard? What do you think? Where do you think I went wrong? Approached with a traditional answer, okay. your approach in the first instance, I think that's a question. Stagnation in thinking out of the box, consumed with the problem. Okay, that's one of them. That's correct, guys. Being too reliant, I think. Okay. Old way of doing things. Measure. Right. So all of you you're in the right neighborhood, right? What I took from this was, Audrey says you didn't optimize the online PDF, trapped in the moment. So all of you are right. There's DocuSign and all of that. All of you are correct. Keep them coming. Lack of innovation, that's it. Not, I was too conventional, that's it, Sandy. So, that's it. So here's what I realized. First of all, my definition of the problem was wrong. Was my problem that I didn't have a printer scanner? Was that my problem? No, it wasn't. It wasn't my problem. But that's, I suppose, maybe I'm a little bit slow or dumb, but many people, I would imagine, in that situation would actually define their problem as, I need a printer scanner. But that wasn't my problem. In fact, that wasn't a problem at all. Now, here's the thing. You're ideally supposed to start from the problem and say, okay, what is it that I need to do? So what you do is you go from the end state and say, what is it I need? What is it I needed, guys? I needed my signature and initials and the date on a document. That was the end state. So you start from the end state. That's what I need. But my problem is I started from the problem and tried to work my way up. And by the way, the problem was not even defined correctly because I didn't need a printer scanner. That was not my problem. In fact, I didn't have a problem. As you see, as we unpack this, you realize I actually didn't have a problem. My end state is, what do I need? Well, I don't need a printer scanner. I need to actually get my signature and so forth on a document. So then I work backwards and say, well, what do I need? Why can't I do it? Who do I need to talk to? How can I? What do I need? Those kind of questions bring me down to say, well, I need to, then as I do that, I actually get rid of what I think is the problem. And I realized that, look, God, I didn't only have to I could have used, if I really sat down and used this process, I could have said, well, if I just need my signature on a document, how can I do that? What do I need, etc. Then I realized very quickly that, well, I could have actually just gone on the Paint app, on even on Windows or Apple or Macintosh, and simply just scribbled my signature, my initials, and then saved it as a JPEG, and then just cropped it down and just pasted it. Convert my document from PDF to Word, which I knew how to do already, and then just save it. My word, I didn't even have to leave my house. I literally could have sat there and done it. I could have also taken a picture with my phone and write on a white piece of paper, take a picture, save it, once again, crop it, paste it on the documents. And I see, you see where I'm going with this. Then now there are other apps, of course, that help you do that. I had so many alternatives. But the problem is, I did what most people do, which is somewhat intuitive. You have a problem and you start stressing on the problem and trying to branch out from there, which is wrong. You see all these solutions you're bringing in. So if and by the way, I didn't even need a computer. I could have literally done it on my phone. So can you. So I literally had a whole range of options. So the problem is, I realized is I started from the problem and tried to come to an end state, which is what most people do, which is inefficient. You may or may not win, but certainly it's not inefficient. So the idea is you start with the end state. What is it that I want to, what is it I need? Not what is it that I need to do, or what is it that I require, but what should be the end state? What should it look like? And then work backwards using critical thinking questions, which we also unpack in the session. And you realize, you unravel it. And if you stuck with a problem, then remember we said, if you deal with a problem and it still remains a problem, then there's a lie. Now, even if I failed with all these solutions, it means we have an anomaly. An anomaly means there's something I need to rearrange in my thinking. Now, even if I fail to do all of this altogether, and literally, technically, physically, there's no way I can do it, then from that problem, we convert it to an anomaly and say, where's the lie? Well, the lie is that if my problem was perhaps I wanted to pay my mortgage, then maybe my thinking could have been, well, even if I don't get paid this month, does that mean I'm in trouble? No. Perhaps I could get the institution to write me a letter and just showing that they're going to pay me X amount. And then I could forward that perhaps to my bank and say, well, look, I'm getting money that's coming. They just missed the cycle, but it's a big government institution. They'll pay me. Here's the proof. And that's sorted. So the anomaly there could have been, if I fail to find the problem after this whole process, then it means something has to change. I have to change my paradigm, because my paradigm would be, well, I have to get this done so I get paid, so that I don't miss my payment and get fined or get kicked out or get calls from the bank. But the lie is that if I don't get paid, then all of these things will happen. That's where the lie was. There are other ways around it. And that taps into what we call leverage. And we talk about leverage not in terms of borrowing at a low cost and getting a higher return and keeping the margin as we do in finance. No. We're going to talk about leverage in its most general and useful and practical term. Once again, really exciting stuff. So when you join the session, you'll get to see that, and I encourage you to look out for that too. Okay. So yeah, we hear, people are saying you need to be proactive, you need to be vigilant, so on and so forth. That's it. So this is what we mean by, by converting risk to profit. And we do this also from a business perspective, an organizational perspective, and we literally show the steps. So once again, get involved with that. But for you to be able to do that, certainly you need an agile mind, don't you? Now, once again, these are one of these terms that are, unfortunately misinterpreted, overused, abused, misunderstood many times. Gert Croy talks about the 5 why tools. Yeah, definitely. That's part of it. That's almost part of divergent thinking, if you like, and root cause analysis. And it's very interesting you mentioned that. We really explore all those tools and see how they fit into a process which is practical. And so it's really exciting to be part of this. And that requires you to be agile, doesn't it, Gert? Right? And what is ability? What is agility? It's the ability to adapt paradigms, your thinking, processes, shapes, forms, efficiently and speedily in order to convert weaknesses into strengths, threats into opportunities. How do you convert a weakness into a threat into an opportunity? Well, you leverage a strength. And if you don't have a strength, you create one, back to opportunity. So we could do a whole session just on SWOT analysis alone, and it'll really blow your mind. But that's the idea. And what is a weakness? A weakness only means a weakness relative to your competitors. Okay, if you're struggling with ESCOM and you're an organization with power issues, it's not a weakness because every other organization, every entity is struggling from it. But it becomes a weakness if you don't do something about it. So its weakness is only weakness relative to someone else or something else. Now, how do you convert it to a strength? Well, you look for opportunities. And this is where we use leverage, we use all sort of techniques to tap into what's already existing and finding something to trade so that you can tap into something else to convert that weakness into a strength. So you actually literally play with these things around, and we deal with this on a different level. But this is what you need to do. You need to have a mind that's flexible, that's that can move from fixed to flex, to variable and backwards. It's a whole range of things. But in pursuit of what? Of efficiency and doing this SWOT conversion. It's not just being flexible and going whichever way. Let me give you a quick analogy to summarize this one. And I thank you for all your, all your contributions there. I'm sure many of you might have experienced, whether, if you're in organizations, that when COVID hit, there was this idea, I'll talk to the financial services space, which I know best, where you had, people who we train and consult through Region would talk about, well, you could hear people say, yeah, if, I'm doing some function at work, maybe it's not dealing with customers per se, maybe it's some sort of an IT function or some admin function, and you'll find that we get computers, we get our toys, routers, all of that, we start working at home. And managers wanted to manage the same way they were managing, in branch, online, which means that was a failure to adapt their paradigms and processes. They weren't agile. Getting computers and internet and doing things online is not being agile. You get it? So what happened is many of them realized as time went by, well, I don't need, I don't need, let's say, Buitamo, we've got you there. Let me pick on you. We don't need Buitamo, for example, to be working from 8 to 4 if Buitamo is not dealing with customers. Perhaps Buitamo has kids, and the helpers are probably not there because of COVID during the hard lockdown, and maybe the kids could go to school, or they needed to be food and all that. Let's allow her to actually start even earlier or even later and finish later or earlier, right? Allow Buitamo to manage the work according to what works for him or her, right? I don't need to be checking in on you, as if you're in the office. I don't need to be saying, oh, you spent 15 minutes not clicking your laptop, right? We're moving from outcomes to inputs. The agile manager moves from, results away from managing it. Let's deal with your KPIs. Let's be flexible. In fact, let me spend more of my time opening the paths. Let me actually predict problems you might have, because not everyone lives in an area which has good network. Some people are better off with rain. Some people are better off with MTN in the area. Some people might need boosters. So this is what we mean by agility. Adapt your paradigm, adapt the processes, think ahead, and this really enables us to be agile. And I see we have 10 minutes, so I'm just gonna quickly go through the other two sections and open up the communication channels. But long story short, if you're moving from disruptivity to opportunity, it means you're going from chaos, so disruption, it's a mess, what's happening, why is this happening, what's going on, to order, okay, this is what's happening, this is what it means, okay, to how can I make the most of it? And when you follow the processes we give you, this becomes very apparent. So you could almost look at it as saying, well, what is happening? Why am I working at home? Why do we need to do this? What is the cause and effect? What will happen if this issue continues happening? Why is it happening? What's the cause? What's the effect? And then you move to a place to say, well, if this continues, then ABC is likely to happen. If X, then Y. So you have to comprehend fully. You can use the 5 Ys and so forth. You can understand cause and effect, separate the two. You move then to saying, okay, if this happens, then this is likely to happen. Now you're moving from comprehension to proactivity. Then you say, what is useful about this chaos or this situation? What is useful about it? Once again, you need critical thinking questions, which we unpack. And then you say, okay, what needs to be done? And then say, okay, who needs to do what, when, how. That is how you move from chaos to order. And when you join the session, what's great about it is we go through examples and really break this down so it becomes less abstract. But as I said before, critical thinking is not something that's in the sky. It's got processes like anything else. Are you attentive to detail? Most people skim through things. And this speaks to neuro-linguistic programming. Our mind can only process 3 chunks at a time. And so we summarize, we delete, and we generalize. So critical thinking works to overcome this, which is not a bad thing. It's part of survival, but it helps us maximize our thought process. We're open-minded but objective. We move from having a limited mentality to having an abundance mentality. And this does wonders, for example, in the field of financial advice. We're skeptic, positive skepticism, which means we rely on facts only. We test assumptions, so we look for clarity. We don't just assume. We structure our thinking. We go deeper into things, into issues by divergent thinking, 5 whys, etc. We think and absorb information with intent, and we seek to find the truth. All these critical thinking paradigms really help us to achieve a lot of what we're talking about. And innovation itself, really, we unpack that process. We don't have time now, but basically the risk portion of innovation is this. It's, if you can drive a car, the idea is there are 3 elements of risk, right? There are things that are known, things that are unknown, things that are unknowable, known knowns, unknown unknowns, etc. You might have been familiar with that. The idea is, how do you move from an unknown to a known, or at least to be something that's predictable? Secondly, after you do that, you now say, I need to control, right? I need to start, change, stop something. If you can drive a car, put on the lights, start the engine, start, change the gears, go for service, change, and put the brakes, turn off the engine, stop. When you can do these 3 things, you can control a car. The moment you can't do one of these things, start, change, stop, then you've lost some control of the car. And once you can't start, change, or stop, you've lost complete control of the car. And this is the same control for controlling a country, a cell phone, your diary, your workspace, it's a formula for controlling anything. And then lastly, what will enable you to do that? Well, you need to be able to leverage mutual interests. Who has the same interests as me? Secondly, opposite interests. What's negative for you is positive for someone else. And once again, in the actual sessions, when you join, we really give you different examples to bring this to life. Very interesting. What is a weakness or a threat to you is an opportunity to someone else. How do you pitch that? Finally, what can you leverage that won't hurt anybody else? What is it that you can get from someone that doesn't hurt them in any way? So you need to be able to now to use these three processes, moving from unknown to known, being able to keep things in check, control, start, change, stop, and leveraging these different kinds of interests. And you are able to convert any risk into profit. I won't have time to go through these examples, but very interesting. I think finally, I'll just touch here, because we have a few minutes left, on basically weaponizing disruption and chaos, right? So within every so-called chaotic situation, there is a pattern. Nothing is random, right? Nothing actually is random. And when you're able to follow these steps, you are able to literally break down chaos, bring some stability and order to it, and profit from it. Everything. I think there was a question here. Let me just expand the screen here so I see the name. Is it Wilhelmina says, how far removed is this from change management? Isn't the latter a requirement for a learning organization? So change management, Wilhelmina, thank you for that question, is adapting to change. And if you were perhaps here from the beginning, you recall that disruption is not change. Disruption is a fundamental shifting in what is the new norm, which has serious impacts to both the survival, growth, and competitiveness of an industry, of a person, of a profession, of a company. And that requires both forward-looking and backward-looking, proactive and reactive thinking. It requires critical thinking. It is an elevation above just dealing with change. Okay, so I hope that has come out there. Thank you for that. And when you're able to use all these tools in conjunction, ultimately you realize that there is nothing that is actually negative. Nothing really has meaning outside what you give it. And we can have a whole day around this, but in short, and here I talk about profit. If a company is not doing well, if it's cost of goods, these are just a whole bunch of tools you can use, and we don't have time to get into this, but I mean, literally by being systematic with a problem, you can really just deal with anything. But ultimately, nothing is outside what the definition we give it. So when you're happy, when you're eating food, listening to music with a loved one, etc., we know from a scientific neural level what we can see and what we can feel, that there are hormones that are released and all these enzymes, happy enzymes. That's because we give it meaning. So nothing has meaning outside what we give it. So if you're feeling bad or happy, or if you're feeling happy or any good feeling or bad feeling, it's not because of what's happening, it's because of your perception of it and what you're thinking. So most people believe that how you feel, or how an event or a situation makes you feel, impacts your thinking. That's completely wrong. And it's not philosophical or moral, it's literal. When you think about it, you'll see it's true. It's scientific. It's nothing to do with how we feel or philosophy, right? It's not a kumbaya thing. It's practical. What you think, how you think, and how you see things, whether you see opportunity, threats, whether you know how to use all these tools we're discussing and others, right, to deal with it or not, that will impact what you're thinking about a situation. That impacts how you're feeling and how you act and how you respond and so on and so forth. So take this. It's not what you're thinking, it's not what you're feeling, but it's what you're thinking. So nothing is meaning. Anything good that in your life or what you experience at work is a result of your perception of it. Similarly, the vice versa is true. So the idea of perception and proactivity really is what we're trying to zone in. Half full, half empty, it's really what you see and what you do. So if you can have tools that equip you to systematically see the upside and how to convert everything and anything, then you're on your way. Lastly, I'll say, someone might say, but what if I've got a terminal illness and I'm sick? What goodness does comes from that? What good is seeing it half full or half empty? Well, I can have a whole day of discussing that. But very quickly and finally, I'll say, if you say, well, you might be a religious person and you say, well, this gives me a chance to prepare myself for my maker. I might also want to do the things I wanted to do, get rid of any negative energy, show my loved ones, the love, record maybe something for your children and family, do right. And as you go, at least you've planned. Other people don't get that chance. 4 or 5 people died in an accident today. That's the upside. And by the way, many people who do things positively, end up living 10, 20 years beyond what the doctors told them. So ultimately, having the right mindset will help you navigate around all this. Okay. Your perception literally changes your reality, Chuma. And if you go down to the science of the very small, quantum physics, and you can go on YouTube and look at some nice little videos with animations, nothing scientific-ish, but you can really research on this and quantum physics and reality. You can Google that on YouTube, and you can really see how, and those who know physics know what I'm talking about. Literally what you see is a result of your perception, you know. And there's the Schrodinger cat example, famous ones that people do in school, and there are all these well-known experiments, the slit experiment and so forth, that literally show us that when you look at something, just by looking at it, it changes what is on an atomic level. So I trust you to go in there and get some scientific validation on that. Maybe let me type it there. You can just say quantum physics or quantum mechanics, if you like. You can just Google that in any search engine. Say mechanics and you know, reality or perception. And from a scientific point of view, those who know science will know what I'm talking about. Okay, I've just gone beyond 8 o'clock, guys. And I trust you forgive me because you know, we're trying to do our best, but that's where I'll stop. Maybe perhaps we can just open it up for a few questions, and in 2-3 minutes we can close this up. Everybody who's commenting there, we enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Please get onto the session. It's free. Vikesh, I think, gave a timeline. Really interesting and exciting. And yeah, go for it and get the best you can get from it. All right. Are there any questions or comments? You can type very quickly, and then we can close off in a minute or two. I sound like Gayton McKenzie. Well, I'm a big guy, tall, fair complexion. So, and I've got a gap. Well, it's not a gap tooth, it's a passion gap. So that's as close as I get to Mr. McKenzie. But yeah, everything else, yeah. Thank you so much, guys. Vikesh, is there anything you want to say before we let everyone go?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. McKenzie. Appreciate that. Thank you for your time. Colleagues, thank you very, very much for joining again today. We'd like to just as an announcement, I've put in my email into the chat. So if anybody feels that they need the recording, please reach out to me by email directly. We will not be sending it out to everybody collectively. And secondly, like I mentioned at the beginning, we will be releasing the Disruption Management 4.0 Management Development Program. Overall, it's roughly, if you do it in one sitting, is roughly 3 to 3.5 hours. We will be reaching out to you via email during the course, if not tomorrow, during the course of early next week, and make that available to you. We will glean your information from the registration data that you've obviously included when you did register. The course will then be available for a 2-week period only, and then we will then close the availability for the course. But colleagues, thank you very, very much. I know we've probably 10 minutes, almost about 8 minutes over time. Thank you very much for making time this evening. Please stay in touch with us, keep connected to us via our socials, and we will be having similar engagements moving forward. Thank you very, very much. Take care. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. I hope I introduced my name, Rufan Mafnyani. That's it. Thank you, guys. Thank you for the comments. Please join, share with others where possible. Thanks, Vikesh, for everything, making this happen. And yeah, enjoy, Guy. Use it. No point knowing something. You have to use it. That's when it becomes useful. Take care of yourselves. Remember,
for coming.
half full, never half empty. Good night.
Good night. Thank you. Take care, everybody. Chat soon. Bye-bye.